everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Delaney, and for today's video we're going to be doing eyeshadow palettes. So we're going to go ahead and start with the mini palettes and then hopefully get to the big ones. If we don't have time, then you'll see from the title if this is just mini palettes or if this is all my eyeshadow palettes. But here is the drawer of mini palettes. We're going to go ahead and do a brutal declutter because I am not touching all of these. So I know that I need to get rid of some. Alright, without further ado, let's jump right in. Alright everyone, we are back with another declutter video, and we're going to be doing eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to go ahead and start with my mini to small palettes because that's what's in the first drawer. That's how that works. So I'm going to be doing a pretty brutal declutter, or attempting to. So let's see how we end up doing. I will say there's one brand in here that I know I'm not going to get rid of any from, and we'll get to that when we get to that, but those aren't going anywhere. But all the other ones are fair game for declutter. So let's go ahead and start. One that I'm definitely going to be keeping because I use it consistently and I really love the formula. This is from LA Girl, and this is their Keep It Playful eyeshadow palette in Playmate. Such a gorgeous palette. I did a video on my favorite mini palettes, and I believe this one was mentioned pretty well in there. I use this all the time. You can see the dips and the pans. I probably am gonna hit pan in this palette, to be honest, and it's one of my most affordable palettes, and it's one of my most used ones also. I will say mostly because of this shade right here and the matte shades, also this one, but overall, I highly would recommend this palette to anybody, whether you're a beginner with makeup or not. And I do love the packaging. It is plastic, but it is a magnetic closure, and it stays together in a makeup bag. Great for travel, great for just every day. These colors suit my skin tone so well. They have a bunch of different colorways, so go ahead and look for this packaging, because I have tried LA Girl shadows from other palettes, and I will go ahead and say this one is the best one that I've tried, just as a heads up, but there are some good ones as well, but this one is just some kind of special. So this one is a keep. Let me go ahead and bring up these little babies right here. These are also from LA Girl. Might as well get them out of the way. I think I'm going to declutter both of them. This formula did not hold up to the mini palette that I love so much. It's just a little bit dry. The mattes are fine, but the shimmers, which I really loved in that other palette, are just okay in this one. And yes, they're really affordable. I don't love the packaging. I don't love the formula, so why hold on to it, you know? I have so many eyeshadow palettes, I don't need to hold on to something that's just okay. And these two are going to find a better home elsewhere, but these two are going to be decluttered. This one is pretty new in my eyeshadow collection, so it's going to be a keep. This is from Jason Wu, also a relatively affordable brand. Not quite the same as LA Girl range, but it is available at Target. And I will say, even though I just got this palette, I think this is the Flora palette. I could be wrong. I love this packaging. It's kind of a soft touch packaging, and it has a nice hard plastic. All the shades are really secure in here. They're not going anywhere. Have not had any trouble with breakage of shades. So far, really loving the packaging. The mattes are gorgeous, buttery smooth, really pigmented. It's what I'm wearing currently today, even though you can't see me. This shade and this shade are so special. They're gorgeous. This one has more of a base. This one's more of a transparent base with glitter. So nice. I will say this is a pressed glitter, so I'm not really loving that, but these three shimmer shades and the matte shades are gorgeous. So 8 out of 9 is not that bad, but yeah, I wish this was another shimmer shade, to be honest. But beautiful palette, great longevity, great looks that I get with this. Definitely a keep. Another keep is the only eyeshadow palette I have from Give Beauty, and I got this from Marshall's or TJ Maxx, one of the two. This is Icy in Color Simple Kind of Life palette, and it is an all matte palette, and I use this along with the single eyeshadow from Give Beauty, or just as a nice base on its own for just a natural eye look. You get 4 different brown neutral shades in here. Really enjoy the formula. The longevity's really nice, and it's a clean brand. I don't have a lot of clean eyeshadow in my collection. Really love the packaging. Love the branding of Give Beauty also. But yeah, this one's a keep. This one is kind of hard. My first instinct is to declutter, but my second instinct is that I paid a lot of money for it, so I should probably get more use out of it. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Dreams Luxury Palette. I have seen so many people recommend eyeshadow palettes from Charlotte Tilbury, and while I recommend a ton from the brand, this is probably what I wouldn't recommend from the brand. It's not bad. It's just not amazing. It's not my favorite formula, and it's expensive for what it is. So the mattes are beautiful. They blend really well. The shimmers, I do wish they had a little bit more of a punch to them. They are great on the eyelids, especially I think for mature lids. I think this formula would do really, really well. It's just not quite as punchy, in your face, glam, like shimmer, sparkle everywhere kind of a shimmer, and I really wish it was. And the mattes are okay. I mean, they're good, but are they Natasha Denona? No. And for the price tag of a 4-pan eyeshadow palette, this is a lot. So this, I normally would probably be decluttering, but I spent too much money on this to declutter it, so I'm going to keep it. Because it is okay, but also I like the color story, so I'm just going to keep it for now. Now this one is more affordable and just okay, so I'm going to declutter. This is from Huda Beauty, and this is supposed to be the dupe for the eyeshadow palette from Charlotte Tilbury. Not in shade, obviously, but the formula is very similar. I will say it is very similar. Is it the same? No. There's like this weird satin shade in here. The mattes are really, really beautiful. The satin shade I'm not a huge fan of. It just does nothing really. The shimmer is okay. I wish, again, it packed that punch, but it is kind of similar to the shimmer from Charlotte Tilbury, so if you like that, try the Huda Beauty one. You might be able to get more of a discount. But this is in Petal Play. I just don't reach for it. So, declutter. I originally kept it because it's my only Huda Beauty thing, but I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to be brutally decluttering. I don't care if it's the only formula from the brand that I have. As well as, in addition to, there too, I don't know, I'm just saying a bunch of words at this point. This is from Huda Beauty, and this is their bento box in Glowing Guava. Really cute. I actually got a lot of use out of this. I used this in so many makeup tutorials on my Instagram when I was just starting makeup. This shimmer shade is beautiful. It is just, it's dark. It's a dark shimmer. Then I don't normally go for dark shimmers every day, so it's a nice little look in a bento box, and it's very cute, very compact. Love the packaging. I just never really reached for this color story, and it's gotta go. So, declutter. Another declutter, surprisingly. This one I was kind of going back and forth on, but because I never reached for it, I think I'm gonna declutter it. This is from NARS, and this is their little mini palette. What is it called? Their mini Orgasm unwrapped eyeshadow palette. Packaging is so cute. It looks like a slutty candy bar. I love the hot pink. I love the ribbon around it. Almost looks like caution tape. Here's the inside. It is really pretty. Very spring kind of color story. I have shades like this in the Natasha Denona Sunset palette, and I will reach for Natasha Denona's formula over this any day. It's not my favorite. There's only one matte in here, and the rest are shimmers, which is just all out of whack for me. I don't use this shade ever, so I feel like it's a companion palette to something else, and I do not have time for that in my collection. It's just, for me, the formula is not up to par with the brands that I really enjoy, so I'm just gonna go ahead and declutter. Next up, let's just go through my Huda Beauty eyeshadow palettes. Now, I have been holding on to this palette for too long. I have not dipped into it, but do I want to keep it because it's unique? This is the Huda Beauty Emerald Obsessions eyeshadow palette. Do we remember the Instagram days where this was just everywhere? Because I do. They had the whole collection, this little gemstone kind of Obsessions collection. I loved this palette. I do, but I'd never reach into it anymore. The only reason I've been keeping it for so long is these two emerald shades, and the shimmer shades in here are just so freaking stunning. And they're green. I love green. Green is one of my favorite colors. I really enjoyed this palette, but I think it's time to go. I need to be brutal. I haven't reached for this in a long time. It's just gotta go. It pains me because I really enjoyed it, but it's time. it's gonna be decluttered. Now this one I do believe that I can keep because it does have a green in there. It's also newer, but it also has a mix of colors, and that's something in an eyeshadow palette that I really enjoy. So this is the Wild palette, or Wild Jaguar palette, sorry. It's hard to see from here with all the light, but this is the palette. Look at that center purple shade, how special that is. You also have 1, 2, 3 kind of greens. This is more of a green gold, but a purple, some greens, a purple here, some matte neutrals. This palette screams dark, grungy, neutral, greenish purple vibes, and that's all me. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep. I really get a lot of enjoyment out of this palette. This one, again with the mint, again with the green vibe. This is the Pastels Mint. I got this in a BoxyCharm, so it was not something that I went ahead and bought from the store, like, because I loved the color story. Nothing's bad about this palette. Honestly, the shimmers are beautiful. I just never reach in here. I don't wear mint eyeshadow very often. So for that reason, I think I'm gonna have to declutter. I never reach for it. The shimmers are gorgeous, but I think I can give this to someone who is going to get more use out of it and enjoy that. Because I don't want it to just go to waste. So I'm gonna declutter. Now this one, it's hard because I really do enjoy this. This is the Nude Light Obsessions palette. Absolutely gorgeous. The shimmers are really pretty. The mattes are really pretty. The one thing I will say is these two shades are way too similar. This is a purple-ish shade, but there's no depth to this palette. There's like nudie brown, pinky shades and no real depth. The shimmer shades are what's so special about this palette, and honestly that is kind of the theme with Huda Beauty, is the shimmers are the star. I have some bigger Huda palettes that I think I'm going to be keeping, so this one I think I'm going to go ahead and get rid of. These two shades are way too similar. This one and this one are not that different, and this one is really the only standout shade, so yeah, it's pretty, but I'm gonna declutter. So I only kept one Huda Beauty mini palette. I think I'm doing well so far. All right, next up we have from Dominique Cosmetics. This is my only mini palette of theirs. I do have some bigger ones. This is the, what is this called? Unconditional palette. Beautiful packaging. I got this in a BoxyCharm, never used it. I think I used it maybe once or twice. This has a pressed glitter, which I don't understand why people keep putting pressed glitters in palettes. I think we all determined we didn't like those. I hear that all across the board. I'm not the only one. But it's pretty. Just not my favorite. These two shades are way too similar. This one is a great addition, but then these two are similar. It's just not the palette that I would have chosen for myself. So, declutter. The formula's not bad. Next up, we have one from Urban Decay. This one was also from Marshall's. The palette packaging is beautiful. I love this kind of snakeskin vibe. This was the Wild West collection, and this is their mini one. And it has a nice little color story with a pop of blue. I was just very underwhelmed by the formula. I hadn't tried Urban Decay's eyeshadow formula in a very long time, so I figured I'd give it a shot, and it wasn't my favorite. So, declutter. The shimmers are really dry. Would not recommend. This next one is from Pop Beauty. And this pains me because I do love the color story. I never touch it though. So I just never find myself diving in. And honestly, I'm going to be real with you guys. It's because of the glitter. There's 2 pressed glitters in here. I hate when palettes have pressed glitters in it. I don't know why. I used to love glitter, but I just don't have time to fiddle with it right now. It's not my makeup style. The shimmers in here are okay. The mattes are okay. It is a drugstore kind of eyeshadow brand, but if I'm gonna go for a drugstore eyeshadow, I don't think this is the best one, so I haven't touched it, and I'm gonna declutter it. You're getting down to the wire here with our mini palettes. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Here's the Pat McGrath Blitz Astral Quad in Nocturnal Nirvana. Beautiful packaging. I love this outer one. Some people throw that away, but I think it makes it so unique. But here is the inside. Absolutely gorgeous. This ain't going nowhere. I use this as a companion palette, but especially the gold, especially the blue and the green here. The purple I don't really use a lot, but the other 3 shades are super special, and I paid a lot of money for her, so I'm keeping her. Pat McGrath really does have some great eyeshadow formula. Speaking of Pat McGrath, I do have one more mini palette, and I actually prefer this kind of mini packaging for Pat McGrath. I love that they've done another one since, and I have debated on getting it, but I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes, so I didn't. This is their mini eyeshadow palette in Sublime Smoke. Great neutral palette for travel, super compact. I mean, look how small it is. The shimmers are their beautiful shimmer formula. The only complaint is I wish there was one of their super special shades in here. It is a very neutral, like everyday glam kind of a palette, and I just wish for Pat McGrath, I wish they would put one of their like transformative shimmer shades that had kind of a shift to it in here, because that's why I love Pat McGrath so much. But it is a great go-to palette, and I'm going to keep it for that reason. The longevity is gorgeous on this palette. If you need something really long wearing, this is definitely one of them. Next up, we have Huda Beauty, and this is the I Am Alma palette. I am definitely going to keep this. I actually really like this formula from Huda. I had not tried it before, but then I saw it at Ulta and it was on sale, and I decided to take a chance, and I was kind of blown away. I really enjoy the matte formula. I love the pop of blue, pop of green, and then this little shimmer shade in here. Really enjoy the packaging, formula, everything about it. So, I'm gonna keep. Next up, we have Lethal is Dead. I love Teresa, and I love her collaboration with Lethal, but I will say I don't reach into this palette. So I might have to put this in my like influencer makeup section of my vanity, just to get it out of the way, because I don't use it very often. The formula is great. I just don't reach for colorful makeup like this anymore, to be honest. And I bought this to support Teresa. I still do support Teresa, but sadly this just isn't for me. If she comes out with a basic Anne palette, like she said, potentially, then I will definitely be grabbing that one, but I just wanted to really support her. And I do enjoy the Lethal Cosmetics formula, just the shades are not what I usually reach for anymore, so I'm keeping this, but I'm going to relocate it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to put this with my other influencer makeup, but it's worth the hype. If you like these colors, it's beautiful. I will say the shimmer formula is not my favorite shimmer formula ever, because it's just kind of like, it's not super sparkly. It's just kind of metallic. But if you like that, then you might like this. Speaking of influencer collaborations, this pains me to say, but I don't touch it. This is It's Frickin' Bats by Beauty Bean and Shroud Cosmetics, and it took forever to get to me, but I loved the branding of it. I loved the color story. I loved everything about this, except for the formula. I have a video on my channel of me doing multiple looks with this palette. The shimmers were underwhelming. The mattes were okay. The shimmers were underwhelming. I wish I had this color story in a formula that I liked, that had a lot of glitter, a lot of punch. A lot of people say they like Shroud Cosmetics formula. Maybe this one was just a dud, I don't know. But it took so long to get to me that I kind of just, I don't know. Maybe that's partially why I don't like it as much. I love that It's Frickin' Bats. I love that, but I just can't keep it. I never use it. And I'm not just going to keep it if I don't use it. So, declutter. We are down to our little Colourpop segment of our mini palettes. And speaking of influencer collaborations, we're just going to go ahead and get it out of the way. This is the At Forest site from Raw Beauty Christie and Colourpop. I will say the color story is beautiful. It's kind of like a earthy rainbow tone, and I really don't reach for rainbow palettes anymore. This is a nice neutral way of doing a rainbow palette, but there's only 2 shimmers in here and mostly mattes. Not my makeup style. The artwork is beautiful. The whole Raw Beauty Christie thing right now is really making me sad. I don't want to get into that as much, but if you want, watch Peter Mon's videos. You'll find out everything. I hope she turns it around. I'm rooting for her to do the right thing. But I think this is going to go with my influencer makeup, just like the Teresa palette is. But I don't use it, so I'm just going to have to relocate her. But sad to see her go. I think I will also put the It's Frickin' Bats palette with the influencer makeup because of Beauty Bean and her collaboration. but it's not going to be in my normal makeup drawer. So it'll be in its own section. All right, next up for Colourpop, we have one that I have been holding on to for so long because of the packaging, because of the branding, but I haven't actually touched it in a very long time. Do we see a theme here? This is the Zodiac one, Kathleen Lights in Colourpop. This is another one that I can put in the influencer makeup because I don't use it anymore, but it had its time. The packaging is gorgeous. It feels so luxurious for a Colourpop palette. They don't do that anymore, but especially this Pisces shade. Oh, I love it. And then the Taurus one, obviously I love. This is a really beautiful palette. I don't use it anymore. Colourpop has a great formula, but you know, it's gotta go. So into the makeup influencer section. All right, now these Colourpop palettes are not collaborations, so let's go ahead and talk about them. This is the Wild Nothing palette. Wow, it's older, but I do love the packaging. Gorgeous color story. I find the longevity though to be an issue, and I kind of saved this from my declutter last time to give it a second chance, and I still haven't used it, so I'm just gonna have to be really ruthless and get rid of it for good this time. So declutter. This one, oh, I don't know what to do with this, okay? I really don't. I know what I technically should do, but I don't know if I want to do it. So this is the Tinkerbell palette, and it has glitter on it. It is very luxurious, very thick, big pans. I never use it. I thought I would because of the greens, but this shade of green in particular is something that I don't wear a lot, and I mostly reach into it for neutral shades. I shouldn't keep it for that. I shouldn't keep it just because it's a Colourpop Disney collaboration either. I need to be really brutal. So I think I'm going to declutter this. This one I'm definitely going to keep though. This is the That's Taupe. This is a neutral palette, great for travel, beautiful shimmers, great for everyday, fall, winter especially. This is a beautiful palette, so I'm going to keep this one. Definitely recommend if you need a neutral palette from Colourpop. Last but not least, for the big Colourpop palettes in the mini section. I know that's kind of, you know, you'll see in a second. So this is the Star Wars Mandalorian Baby Yoda palette. I love this palette so much. It's so cute, but I never touch it anymore. Oh, I never reach for this. Do I want to keep it? No, I can't. I can't. I love Baby Yoda. I do. I love this palette. It's really cute. But if I'm going to be reaching for a gold and neutrals, I'm not reaching for this palette. I'm going to be reaching for greens. Probably not going to be reaching for this palette. Why would I keep it if I'm not going to reach for it? Ugh, it pains me because it's so cute. But I need to be brutal. I'm going to declutter. These are definite keeps from Colourpop. These were featured in my favorite mini palette video. These are the quads from Colourpop. This formula in particular is the best Colourpop formula they have, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. The shimmers are absolutely stunning. The mattes are so blendable and pigmented and gorgeous. They have so many different color stories. The packaging is really cute. They're really sturdy. I will say some of the shades will break, so just be careful of that. But apart from that, these are banging. So I have the sparkler one, cream soda, sorbet, and what's this one? Oh, the Taurus one. This is the Never Taurus Apart. This is my favorite one because obvious reasons, but this is a green palette done right in a neutral way that I use all the time, and I love it. So these are all keep. This palette is my most used palette pretty much in my whole collection. It's not going anywhere. This is the Viseart Warm Neutrals eyeshadow palette. I got this in a BoxyCharm and I haven't stopped using it since. I have had backups. This is my second one of this palette. I love it so much. I still have a backup for when this one's done. Formula, 10 out of 10. Shades in here, 10 out of 10. I can use it for my eyebrows, for my eyes. Even if I needed to, I could use it on my face, but I'm not going to do that. But it's just gorgeous. I get a perfect blend every time. Perfect for every skin tone, too. I've used it on my friends. I've used it on me, obviously. It works for everybody. So, gonna keep. e.l.f. These two I forgot I had in my collection still. So, I'm gonna declutter. These are the bite-size palettes, and I have Cream and Sugar and Rose Water. I hate this formula. I'm just gonna say it. I've been nice this whole time. I really don't like this formula. I don't understand why people like it. Hey, and if you do, that's amazing for you. I don't like it. I just think they're very, very, very okay. I don't like them. And I'm not gonna keep okay in my collection. So those are decluttered. I have 2 from Catrice. And these I don't think I need to keep, even though I like the formula. This is their 5 in a box mini shadow palettes. And I have Golden Nude and Soft Rose. They look like Natasha Denona dupes. They are not dupes. The formula is not a dupe. The packaging may be, but the formula is not. They kind of have a rose-ish scent to them. Not a fan of that. They do not have the longevity, and I just, they're not Natasha Denona. Let me just say that. And I have so many Natasha Denona palettes that I don't need to keep a dupe, quote unquote. I have all the Natasha Denona palettes almost, so these 2 are going to be decluttered. They're okay, but I think you should just splurge and get the mini palette from Natasha Denona instead of this one. Catrice makes some great products, but this is not my favorite one from them. So declutter. All right, I think we're officially down to my Natasha Denona collection, which of the mini palettes, I have most of them. So I am just going to speed through these, but I think I'm going to keep all of them. Just as a heads up, I think I like the formula for Natasha Denona so much that I think I'm just going to keep all of them. Y'all seem to really love my Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette videos, and I love to do rankings of these for you guys and swatch and keep them on hand. This is the brand that I was going to say in the beginning that I'm probably not decluttering anything from, because this is the only brand that I want to continuously buy eyeshadow from. I love their formula so much. It's my favorite. It is like the longevity is great. The pigmentation's great. The formula's great. The shimmers especially are beautiful. I haven't found anything that compares, truly. I mean, Pat McGrath is this close second, but I think I still vote Natasha Denona over that. And then Colourpop for the affordable side. But they don't come anywhere close to Natasha Denona, so I just thought I'd say that. But none of these are going to go, but I will show you the ones that I have in my collection currently. We have the Cupid palette. We have the Cranberry palette. The Coral palette. All right, getting to the smaller ones. We have the Mini Zendo palette, the Mini Love palette, the Mini Xenon palette, Mini Nude palette, Mini Tropic palette. If I was going to declutter one, this would definitely be it. Just a heads up, the formula is not that great, so I don't recommend this one as much, but it's still staying for comparative purposes. And the Mini Sunset, I also probably would declutter this one if I was going to be getting rid of any, but I'm keeping for now, just for review reasons. But yeah, wouldn't recommend this one either. But all the other Natasha Denona palettes formulas are amazing. The Mini Biba palette, my favorite little one, this is the Mini Gold palette. I have the Baby Gold palette, the Mini Retro palette, one of my other favorites, the Mini Star palette, the Mini Bronze palette, the Mini Metropolis palette, last but very not least, the Mini Glam palette. So all those Natasha Denonas are keepers. Whoop. So all those were keepers. I'm gonna go ahead and put the keeps back in my drawer, and I'll show you what's left. All right, here is what I decluttered. I think I decluttered 20 palettes, maybe 19 if I can count, but I think that's pretty dang good. I think that's, not including my Natasha Denona palettes, that's over half of my mini eyeshadow palettes. So I'd say that's a pretty good declutter for these. Now let's see the keeps. Here is my eyeshadow palettes that I'm keeping for the minis. I think it looks beautiful in here. Sorry it's a mess down on the floor, but I'm cleaning up. So these are the keeps, and it's all very neat and organized, and now I can definitely get to the palettes that I'm going to use every single day a lot easier. Y'all, a little sneak preview. This is my big eyeshadow palette drawer, and this declutter will be coming very soon, but I'm going to go ahead and edit the mini palettes one so I can get that to you quicker. But yeah, this definitely warrants its own video. There's a ton in here, and I already know that I'm going to declutter most of the palettes in this drawer. So it is going to be a very brutal declutter. If you thought this mini palette one was really brutal, this one's going to be even more, because probably 90%, maybe 80% of these palettes are going to go. So which ones will be kept and which ones will be decluttered? Gotta leave you with a cliffhanger. Hopefully you enjoyed this declutter. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video.